Happy SummerSlam Sunday. This year's show takes place in Toronto, Ontario, Canada from the Scotiabank Arena. And you start off with an empty arena and you have your panel. You get Charlie Caruso anchoring it, and she's basically just taken Renee Young's old position. And you also have David Otunga, Jonathan Coachman, and Beth Phoenix on panel. You had The Miz stop by to preview the Shane and KO match. And you had Kayla Braxton doing a pretty good interview with Charlotte. I thought Charlotte hyped up her match with Trish well. You had Mick Foley stop by on the panel. They showed Sam Roberts and JBL previewing matches too. And then you have another interview. This was Kevin Owens doing an interview with Kayla Braxton. And this next part's kind of frustrating. I don't know why WWE can't just announce this ahead of time, but they added 3 matches to the pre-show. You have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending their tag team titles against the IIconics. I guess the IIconics are due for their automatic rematch clause, even though that was taken away a few months ago. The Cruiserweight titles moved to the pre-show, and you also have a random match with Apollo Crews and Buddy Murphy. I suppose just so later on the pre-show, you have a backstage segment when you have the club, AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson meeting with Finn Balor backstage. It was quick. I mean, it was basically them trying to bring Balor in back with them, but it didn't really happen. Next, you go to the Cruiserweight Championship. You have Drew Gulak defending his title against Oney Lorcan in a match that no one in the world gave a shit about. It wasn't a bad match at all. It was quick. It just no one could care about either of these guys. It was just, it was just there. I'm thinking to myself, it is a division that's going to go nowhere. It's been there for 3 years now. No one cares. Just end the division. It just means nothing. So they did this thing on the pre-show panel. You have Jerry Lawler and Booker T join the panel. And they did some comedy segments with R-Truth and Carmella, who were hiding under the table because Drake Maverick was on the panel, and Truth and Carmella come out and they throw popcorn at each other. Hopefully that's it. We don't have to see them on the pay-per-view, because that was just horrible. That's horrible, man. The 24/7 gimmick sucks. You had Sarah Screeber backstage, and she interviewed Natalya. Not a very good promo. I really hope Natalya doesn't win. If she wins, it'll be a waste of Becky. We'll see how the crowd reacts if they boo Becky tonight. Next, you go to the ring. You have Apollo Crews and Buddy Murphy. It wasn't really much of a match. It was okay. And then all of a sudden, you have Rowan. He comes out and he murders Buddy Murphy. Destroys him, smashes him into the steps, smashes him into the ring apron, and then he gives him a powerbomb into the ring post. Brutally kills Murphy, and we'll see it. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do a segment with Roman Reigns. They could do a confrontation with Roman later in the show, but maybe not. Maybe just save that for SmackDown. You don't have to get this on the card. Now, everyone has to be on SummerSlam. Even though Roman's actually on the poster, so if he doesn't have a match, that'll be something. He's on the poster without actually being on the show. So I assume he'll at least do something. Next, he had probably the highlight of the pre-show. The Elias come out. He goes on for a while. I'm thinking to myself, all right, they're just trying to kill segments. They're just trying to kill time because they ruined this pre-show. They did 3 matches they announced at the last second. All of a sudden, as Elias is insulting Canada, he mentions the Toronto Raptors and Kawhi Leonard leaving. He's ripping into him. Edge comes out. Edge gets a big pop. This was really cool. This was a great segment. And I'm thinking, okay, is this going to be comedy Edge on the microphone with Elias? Instead, Edge stares at Elias and he spears him. I was stunned. Edge was allowed to get physical in the ring. I don't know how they did that. I mean, the way they did it, there really wasn't much contact, but I don't think Edge would ever return. I don't think he even wants to return, but that was surprising. They let him get physical, because usually with guys who have major injuries, they don't let them do anything, but they let him spear Elias, which was cool. Up next, we go to the Women's Tag Team Championships. You have Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending their titles against the IIconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Alexa and Nikki come out first, and I can't get my eyes off of Alexa. What a smoking hot woman this chick is. She is wearing this Buzz Lightyear cosplay outfit, and it looks great. From Toy Story, she's a big fan of Disney stuff and little kid stuff. She does all that stuff. She was the highlight here. The match itself was quick. It was just like a TV match. And it was a match just announced at the last second. Hopefully this is it for the IIconics. As hot as Peyton Royce is, she is not very good. And Billie Kay, again, good-looking woman. She's terrible in the ring. She's horrendous. It was a quick match. I had Peyton Royce and Alexa Bliss working the majority of the end of the match. In the end, you saw Nikki Cross and Billie Kay on the outside, while Alexa Bliss would defeat Peyton Royce, hitting her with the Twisted Bliss. 1, 2, 3. That's it for the IIconics. And Alexa and Nikki will face the Kabuki Warriors next night on Raw. We'll see how they do that. But that probably would have been a good match to have on this show. On the main show, actually. On the main card of SummerSlam. But you have Alexa retaining. And her and Nikki are still champs. And Alexa's ring gear is definitely the highlight, as it usually is. My God. So we go back to the pre-show with Charlie Caruso anchoring it. Just more previews for some of the matches. They're previewing Brock and Seth. We'll see how that match goes too. I really hope we get a Brock and Cena repeat from 2014. That's what I hope they would do. I don't think they're going to do that. I think Rollins might win, but I really hope they just have Brock kill him like he killed Cena all those years ago. I think that'd be awesome. I think the fans might see it because I think the fans are going to boo Seth Rollins really hard tonight. Anyway, that'll be it for the pre-show. Main card starts right now. The main card of SummerSlam started off with a submission match for the Raw Women's Championship. You had Becky Lynch defending her title against Natalya, and they had a very good match. What was interesting here was I was expecting it to be more of a pro-Natalya crowd because it's Canada and it doesn't really matter how over you are in the United States. In Canada, who's the Canadian gets cheered and the non-Canadian gets booed. It was not like that at all, and that's because Natalya is not very over as it is, but it was a 50-50 crowd during a lot of this, and there was a lot of Let's Go Becky chants, and Becky's very popular. There wasn't really boos for Natalya, but there was some boos for Becky, but there was also a lot of cheers. I did notice a Let's Go Becky, Becky Sucks chant, which just so happens to be the same place where the Let's Go Cena, Cena Sucks chant started as well, which was at SummerSlam. So I don't know if that's a good trend for Becky at all, but I did notice that. So the match they had here was very good in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. I thought they could have gone even a little bit longer than they did. But you had a very good submission match. One thing they really put was it was a submission no DQ match. So the ropes didn't matter. And that makes sense in a submission match because the only way to win by submission. No disqualification, no count out. You can have a submission outside the ring, on the ropes, on the turnbuckle. And my favorite spot of the match, and one of my favorite spots of the whole night for that matter, was Becky and Natalya on top of the rope. And Natalya is able to get Becky in a sharpshooter when Becky's on the middle rope. And Natalya steps into the middle rope and leans back on the top rope. It looked great. I thought that was a really awesome spot. And that could have even been a cool finish if they wanted to go that direction. And one thing I liked is how they had Natalya injure Becky's knee during the match, and it makes sense because Natalya's move was the sharpshooter, and it also made sense for Becky to smash Natalya's arm into the announcer's table to get her arm weakened for the disarmer, so that made sense. I really liked how they both switched their own submissions on each other. There was a really good sharpshooter spot from Becky to Natalya. It looked like that could be it. Natalya also had Becky in the disarmer. And then finally, near the end, Natalya has Becky in a sharpshooter. The crowd was buying. I was thinking to myself, is Natalya going to win? The crowd was actually ready to pop. It looked like they were about to do the title change. Becky survives. Becky is down again. Natalya's going for another disarmer, for another sharpshooter, but Becky is able to switch that into disarmer. Natalya eventually taps out. Hell of a match. I really enjoyed it. Becky Lynch retains the Raw Women's Championship. Very, very good here, and another good women's match this weekend. Not on the level of Io Shirai and Candice LeRae, but still a very good women's match. This was not even the best women's match of the night. Backstage, you have Kayla Braxton interviewing Trish Stratus before her big match with Charlotte Flair. You go to a Dolph Ziggler Goldberg video package. Ziggler comes out first. Then Goldberg comes out. He makes his big grand entrance. One thing I did notice that they failed to mention is this is the same arena where Goldberg destroyed Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series in 2016 when he just smoked him. They didn't bring that up, but this is the same arena. The match starts with a shock. It looks like Dolph Ziggler might actually pin Goldberg with a super kick. He surprised him, but we all know Goldberg's kicking out. Eventually, Goldberg hits a spear, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3. Match is over. Then they had 2 post-match beatdowns. Goldberg is leaving. Ziggler gets on the mic and calls him a sack of shit, or I don't know exactly what he said, but that's something shit. Goldberg spears him. Ziggler is still alive. He calls him back out. Goldberg comes back out, and this time he gives him like a super spear. So he kills Dolph Ziggler, and hopefully that's the end of Dolph Ziggler. He can go do his comedy tour, and that's it. Goldberg destroys him. They go to a backstage skit with the New Day, and you had Drake Maverick, and the New Day was Big E and Xavier for Kofi's match. They basically introduced him as Drake, as in the Drake, the Canadian rapper, but it was Drake Maverick. It was a pretty shitty segment, in my opinion. I didn't really like it. I did notice Xavier Woods now has braids, if you didn't notice. Next, the United States Championship. AJ Styles defends his title against Ricochet. I don't know what Ricochet was dressed as, but I thought it could have been the Black Panther. It could have been Batman. I don't know for sure, but to me, it was Black Panther or some video game character, Mortal Kombat or something like that. I don't know. I'm not too good at video games. Something like that. The match they had, though, it was just decent. There was a cool spot in which Ricochet jumps off both Anderson and Gallows and does a flying hurricanrana to AJ on the outside early in the match. That was really good. The match itself after that was very slow. The crowd was not that into it. It was boring. It was plodding. And I'm thinking to myself, we have Ricochet, we have AJ Styles. We want to see some crazy high-flying moves. Two of the best high flyers ever. Maybe the best high flyer ever in Ricochet. And one of the best wrestlers of all time, period, in AJ Styles. They should have had that classic match I know they're capable of having. We didn't get it here. It was just a decent match. And the whole story was mostly to get the OC over. Ricochet was selling his knee throughout the match, and every single time Ricochet got momentum, the OC, Gallows, and Anderson would get involved. Eventually, AJ Styles would retain the title. It was a cool finish. Ricochet does a springboard. AJ catches him into a Styles clash, gets the 3 count, and then after the match, the OC beats him down, and AJ reigns over Ricochet. I don't know what's next for Ricochet, but it looks like that's it for that feud. They do a Street Profits segment backstage, and they run into the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Ric Flair makes his appearance on SummerSlam. Cool to have Ric Flair back. And this was a very enjoyable segment. Next, we go to the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley defends against Ember Moon. I noticed there were some boos for Bayley. I guess this is like Bizarro Land, but you had some boos for Bayley here. The crowd was dead throughout the whole match. You just never got into this. They cannot get the crowd into this. And I think Ember Moon has just been booked horribly. She loses to Alexa Bliss cleanly a couple weeks ago. She's been embarrassed by Bayley. She's not a credible challenger because they've built her up horribly. That's why no one can take her seriously in this match. I was wondering, is Sasha going to come out? I see Sasha's dyed her hair blonde on Instagram, so that means she's probably coming back because she realizes I might get a push now for blonde hair. But she's looking great, by the way, on Instagram. If you followed her, Jesus, she looks really good. But I didn't think Sasha is going to come back. I think she'll on this show, but I think she'll come back eventually. The crowd was just dead here. They just didn't get into this match. It was boring. I was not into it. It had a really good finish with the Bayley to belly from the top rope, but I got the feeling that they worked hard. Ember Moon's a very good athlete. She's very athletic. She has a lot of good springboard moves. She's a very good high flyer. The match itself, they just couldn't not get the fans' interest here. And this is where the crowd was starting to fade. And I was starting to fade too. This was just not a match that, just did not excite me at all. The build-up was absolutely horrible. The match itself was just not very good. It was a flat match. Next, we go to Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. I like the presentation of this. This wasn't necessarily a match where we had to have a 40-minute Shane McMahon pay-per-view match where he does about 5 high spots, where he does his coast-to-coast, he does the elbow drop through the announce table, all that stuff. Here, this was a better presentation. Elias comes out as a special enforcer, and Edge didn't come back out. I thought maybe it would have made more sense to have Edge make an appearance and attack Elias and help Kevin Owens win. They could have done that. Or they could have had all these Canadian wrestlers come out to help Kevin Owens. But that's not how they did it here. It was a good presentation. A lot of fuckery. Referee goes down early. Looks like Shane or KO's about to beat Shane down with the steel chair. He's going to beat him up. He keeps changing his mind. He can't hit him because he knows if he hits him with the chair, he gets DQ'd and he's done. So it was a good story there. Elias eventually gets taken out, and Kevin Owens hits a low blow on Shane McMahon. Stunner, wins. Hopefully that's the end of Shane McMahon. This was not a long match and not need to be. This was a fine presentation of a whole match. Did not need to be that long Shane McMahon match, and hopefully we don't ever have to see Shane McMahon on TV for a while, please. They go to a Roman Reigns video package, and we do not see Roman Reigns on the show. So he's on the poster, but he's not on the show. That's a surprise. No Roman Reigns tonight. I'm sure some people like that, but I don't know. I think, you know what? The more I think about it, they can just save that segment for SmackDown with Daniel Bryan or whoever they're going to have with it. Up next, we go to Charlotte Flair versus Trish Stratus. So the crowd was singing the O Canada national anthem to Trish Stratus early in the match, and it was good early. The fans were into it, but then it really began to cool off, and it was basically like 5 to 7 minutes of Charlotte just destroying Trish Stratus, dominating her, taunting her, yelling at her. Trish can't get anything. The match was really slow, and Charlotte's a very good heel. What changed this match and what made it get really good was they had a great Hurricanrana spot from the top rope. If you know the Trish, she always does that move where her opponent is on the top turnbuckle. She just kind of, does a headstand on the middle turnbuckle and brings her down with her legs. Here she does that, but Charlotte brings Trish back up. Charlotte has Trish for a powerbomb, but Trish is able to reverse anyway, and she brings her down with a Hurricanrana. That spot was fantastic. After that, the crowd went nuts. They got really into this, and I really, really enjoyed it. You had some great chopping battles with Trish and Charlotte. I like that. Tributes to Ric Flair. You had some very fun stuff here. You had Trish putting Charlotte into the figure 8, which was great. She did a great bridge. You had Trish hitting a Stratus faction. Charlotte kicks out. Then the chick kick. Charlotte kicks out of both her finishers. There, Charlotte's going to win. Trish goes for another chick kick, but Charlotte hits her with a big boot, locks into the figure 8. Trish Stratus taps out to the figure 8. Charlotte Flair wins. She beats Trish Stratus. They had a hell of a match here. A very, very good match. This was a great way for Trish Stratus to go out and a great way to end her career. Crowd chants, "Thank you, Trish," as I do that too. Thank you, Trish. Definitely a legend, a Hall of Famer. Excellent way to end her career. I think this is how she should end her career. She had that, the way she ended it before was when she beat Lita to win the title, the women's title in 2006. She came back, she had more matches, she went to the Hall of Fame, and for her to end her career this way, even though she hasn't been an active performer in over 13 years, but to have your final match like this is perfect. This is a very good way to end it. Losing to the top female star, or one of the top female stars in Charlotte Flair, damn good match. I liked how Trish got the send-off at the end. She went on all top four turnbuckles. She salutes the crowd. She walks off into the sunset and puts a bookmark on a great career. So thank you, Trish. Immediately we go backstage and we see Seth Rollins being wished good luck by Bret the Hitman Hart. I'm just laughing because it wasn't around SummerSlam a few years ago when Bret was attacking Seth mercilessly after Seth injured Finn Balor in that match that had Balor tear his shoulder and he had to miss, or he had to drop the Universal title, and then Seth injured John Cena, he injured Sting, and Bret was very critical on Seth. So it's a cool way to see him bury the hatchet here. Next, we go to the WWE Championship. We have Kofi Kingston against Randy Orton. You had a dueling chants of Kofi, stupid, Randy sucks. That's what I thought about this match. I just couldn't get into it. This was so boring. I dozed off. I fell asleep for about a couple minutes in this match. I woke up. I didn't completely fall asleep, but I did. I dozed off, basically. I knew what was going on. I could hear the TV, but my eyes were closed. I was not paying attention. I didn't go into a deep sleep, so I didn't miss anything else. I still woke up halfway during the match. But I saw what happened. Match went on for an eternity. Eventually, Randy Orton taunts Kofi's family. Kofi flips, so he beats up Randy, but then it becomes a double countout. So Kofi grabs a kendo stick, beats down Randy Orton, destroys him with a kendo stick, gets him back in the ring. Trouble in paradise. He leaves. Fans boo. Shitty match, boring match. I fell asleep for most of it, so I don't remember much, but man, I'm glad that I was just belated, thrilled that was over. Next, we go to Finn Balor versus The Fiend. So Finn comes out, no demon, 100% Fiend's winning. The Fiend's entrance was fucking amazing. So it's basically a remix version of Bray Wyatt's old theme song. It's kind of like a heavy metal verse, and it has like a choir theme of the singing, which was great. And he has like a giant lantern of the old Bray Wyatt. It's like his head is mounted into a lantern. It looks insane. That was great. The presentation was amazing. It had an amazing entrance. It made you think, oh my God, this guy's something special, even though we've seen Bray Wyatt like this. The match itself, Finn Balor gets way too much offense. They made The Fiend look scary. He didn't take off the mask the whole match, but Finn got way too much offense. It needed to be a squash. And you're not protecting Finn because Finn's going to leave for a couple of months anyway, so he's going to be gone. People will forget. Wrestling fans have a short memory. So I was not a fan of how they did the match itself. I thought Balor got way too much offense in. It needed to be quicker. The presentation of The Fiend was great. The entrance was amazing. All I can say is we've been down this road with Bray Wyatt before. We will see if this works, but it was 6 years ago at SummerSlam. He debuts. The gimmick's amazing. He's going to be a top star. Everyone thinks that. And it fell flat on its face in a couple of years. I hope this turns out differently. Hopefully this Fiend thing can work out, but this needed to be a squash match. And I'm going to keep an open mind. I hope it works out, and I hope the Fiend becomes a major star. Now we get to the main event, Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar defends his title against Seth Rollins, a rematch from WrestleMania. And after this match, all I can be thinking is, where does Brock Lesnar go from here? But maybe the story isn't necessarily about Brock and more about how WWE really wants to get Seth Rollins over as their top guy, or their B top guy. He's not going to be bigger than Roman Reigns. I still think they want Roman as their top guy, but Rollins is clearly the number 2 guy. So the match they have, it starts off, first of all, Rollins is booed heavily when he comes out, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be interesting. As the match progressed, the bruise went away quickly, and Rollins became the babyface once again. All that stuff he did on Twitter, making a complete ass out of himself, definitely hurt him, but he was able to regain it in this match. So it starts off with a curb stomp. It looks like it's going to be over, but Brock kicks out. Brock takes control. He hits a German suplex, a few of them, and there was a really funny spot where he'd grab Seth Rollins by his waist tape because Brock beat him down. He would hurt his ribs. Brock grabs him by the tape and just spins him around, just throws him around. I thought that was hilarious. Hits more German suplexes. Brock's beating him down, but then Rollins makes a comeback, and Rollins kicks his ass for a while. He's able to hit super kicks. And Brock goes to the outside. Rollins smashes his head into the barricade, and then they do the big spot. Rollins hits a frog splash from the top rope onto Brock Lesnar through an announce table, and that spot was incredible. It was basically Rollins on the top rope, but then he gets onto the pole, the ring pole, and there they have those big jumbo ones, so Rollins stands on top of the pole and delivers a frog smash. It looked insane. It looked brutal, it looked sick, it looked incredible. That was probably one of the best spots of the whole show. After that, they go back to the ring. Rollins hits another frog splash. Brock kicks out. Rollins hits a second curb stomp. Brock kicks out again. That's the second time. And it looks like, okay, Brock's winning. Rollins goes for another curb stomp. Brock's going to get an F5. 1, 2, 3. Brock goes for an F5. He's about to hit it. Rollins lands on his feet, gives Brock Lesnar another super kick, hits a third curb stomp. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins defeats Brock Lesnar again, clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring. I thought this was the match they probably should have had at WrestleMania, and I think that would have gotten Seth Rollins a lot more over. And plus, feuding with Baron Corbin for 3 months doesn't help either. But Rollins pins Lesnar cleanly. He's the champion. It ends with Rollins having his big moment. He regains the title after he lost it. After Brock cashed in on him last month, Rollins regains the belt. He's Universal Champion again. That's not good for the ratings. I'm still not a huge Rollins fan. I don't find his character very entertaining. But we'll see where Brock Lesnar goes from here. Maybe he's done. You can't go anywhere else. He's lost to Seth Rollins now twice. I suppose he can go to SmackDown. Maybe they want him there for Fox, but I mean, he's damaged now after these 2 losses to Seth Rollins. I don't know where Brock's going to go next, but Rollins regains the title. He beats him cleanly. They have a lot of stock in Rollins. They want him to be a top guy. He made an ass out of himself with these interviews and his tweets the last few months, but he's redeemed it. He had an amazing match with Lesnar. Was damn good. Was damn entertaining. He's champ again, and we'll see where they go from here. SummerSlam itself, I thought the main event was very good. I thought Trish and Charlotte was very good. I thought Becky and Natalya was good. So there was some good stuff. There was a lot of disappointments. AJ Styles and Ricochet was just okay. Bayley and Ember Moon was not much of a match. KO and Shane wasn't really much of a good match at all. Finn and Bray was a good presentation for the Fiend. As a match, I wouldn't want to put anything that you'd have to see besides the entrance of the Fiend. Kofi and Orton was a snooze fest, so you had some stuff here. I mean, I would say the show was just okay. I mean, it wasn't great. And for SummerSlam, you want a great show. This show wasn't bad by any means. It was just kind of okay. It was there. A lot of the matches were boring. It got good at the end, but there was a lot of boring stuff here. There was some stuff that kind of dragged. I'd still say it was decent. It was a decent show. It wasn't a bad show by any means, but would I call it a great show you have to go out of your way to see? No. So that's it for SummerSlam. Show's over. It's okay. Not bad. Decent. I'd watch it because it's a SummerSlam, but not a great show by any means. And definitely TakeOver was the better show. So that's it. And SummerSlam weekend continues. Even though the show's over, we still have Raw and SmackDown next 2 days. And also, Toronto has been an amazing host for SummerSlam.